While every NFL injury is concerning, some have been absolutely horrifying. They now pose a serious threat to life, reminding viewers of the extremely risky nature of the game that is being played. In this video, we will look at 5 of the scariest moments in NFL history. But before we dive in, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you love the NFL. Starting at number 5 is Darryl Stingley. Darryl Stingley was the unlucky victim of an incident known as the hit in NFL history. The New England Patriots wide receiver was running a crossing route against the Oakland Raiders during a preseason game when Jack Tatum severely tackled him. Darryl Stingley, a wide receiver, was attempting to grab a ball when free safety Jack Tatum collided with him. It was not a dirty hit, it was a completely legal move. Stingley's helmet struck Tatum's shoulder pad. Darryl's spine was crushed, and both the C4 and C5 vertebrae were broken. Both teams' medical professionals quickly approached and surrounded the wide receiver. One especially rough medical staff member taps all over Darryl's left leg, checking for sensation, reflexes, and the ability for Stingley to move it. He concludes this examination by moving his ankle around like a joystick. Darryl was taken across the field on a 1970 stretcher. Stingley was of course admitted to a hospital in California, where he remained for 3 months. The Raiders head coach at the time, John Madden, was heartbroken. Darryl's wife flew in and spent the entire day with her husband at the hospital. Tina was so determined that she made a hole in his mattress so she can sit on the floor and watch his face through it when he had to be turned over 3 times a day to avoid bed sores. Darryl Stingley was shifted to a rehabilitation facility in Chicago after being discharged from the Californian hospital. In 1978, there was still a sense of optimism, and there was a chance that he would recover to some extent. By November 1978, Stingley was practicing physical therapy both individually and in groups. He was also mentally coping, which was not an easy task. His doctor was happy with his improvement. His vertebrae were completely healed, his legs were experiencing spasms, and his arms were improving, with good function in his right arm shoulder. Stingley did not make a full recovery, as he spent the rest of his life wheelchair-bound and quadriplegic, with the exception of a small amount of mobility in his right arm from the elbow down. And number 4 is Damar Hamlin. Damar Hamlin appeared to make a simple tackle against T. Higgins during the Buffalo Bills game against the Cincinnati Bengals. He collapsed and went into cardiac arrest shortly after the play. Hamlin was given CPR on the field. Teammates gathered Hamlin and shielded him from public view. Many people wept and prayed as Hamlin was treated on the pitch by team members, independent medical staff, and local paramedics. EMS transported him to the University of Cincinnati Medical Center, where teammate Stephon Diggs later went to see Hamlin in the hospital, while supporters from both teams gathered outside, holding lit candles and praying. Hamlin was injured while tackling Bengals receiver T. Higgins on an otherwise regular play that did not appear to be particularly violent. Higgins was racing with the ball after a 13-yard pass from Joe Burrow when he led with his right shoulder, striking Hamlin in the chest. Hamlin then grabbed Higgins' shoulder and helmet, dragging him down. Hamlin sprang quickly to his feet, appeared to fix his face mask with his right hand, and then collapsed 3 seconds later, immobile. Hamlin lay down for 19 minutes while receiving medical attention. WXIX-TV in Cincinnati reported that Hamlin needed an automatic external defibrillator in addition to CPR on the pitch. It took the NFL almost an hour after Hamlin collapsed to formally suspend the game because the league's officials were gathering information and communicating with referee Sean Smith, both teams' coaches, and the NFL Players Association. Hamlin has stated that he wanted to return to the NFL to play, and he was cleared to resume practices in April when he began working out at the team's facility. In April, Bills general manager Brandon Beane said that he had been fully cleared to rejoin the team. He returned to the pitch with the team for drills and stretching during voluntary workouts before completely rejoining practice. Hamlin's story has encouraged others to take action to promote heart health initiatives and adequate training, which could save lives if a cardiac event occurs. Stay with us because number 2 on the list gets even scarier. Number 3 is Kevin Everett. When the Buffalo Bills lost 15-4 on the final play of the 2007 season opener to the Denver Broncos, there were a lot of unhappy people leaving Ralph Wilson Stadium. Anyone who was there or watched on television will recall the incident after the second half kickoff when tight end Kevin Everett injured his cervical spine while making a tackle. Everett laid motionless on the pitch for 15 minutes. Emergency staff were racing around, players from both sides took a knee to pray, and then an ambulance pulled onto the pitch and rushed him away. It wasn't until the next day that it became clear that living and dying with each play meant something quite different. Everett was not only paralyzed by the hit, but he nearly died on the pitch, and only the extraordinary efforts of the Bills' medical staff prevented what would have been the worst tragedy in a team history. and possibly NFL history altogether. Everett underwent hours of surgery, and while it was revealed that he was paralyzed, there was also cautious optimism about his chances of recovery. After an originally bleak prognosis by Dr. Andrew Cappuccino, who was ultimately responsible for saving Everett's life on the pitch, Everett was able to walk after many months. Everett received a hypothermic treatment which involved introducing a cold saline solution into his body. His recovery was hailed as miraculous. Kevin Everett, who many thought would never walk again, stood tall on the Miller School campus during a visit to the Miami Project to cure paralysis. He went there to announce the launch of the Kevin Everett Foundation, and to thank the Miami Project team for their groundbreaking research, which ultimately contributed to his recovery. And number 2 is Ryan Shazier. Shazier, a rising star linebacker for the Pittsburgh Steelers, saw his NFL career end on football. What appeared to be a regular play, Shazier dove headfirst at Cincinnati Bengals receiver Josh Malone, who was sprinting across the field. He collided with Malone's side and collapsed to the ground, a sharp burning sensation in his lower back. His left hand grabbed the painful region, and he rolled onto his back, palms raised high and fists clenched, legs absolutely numb. Paramedics strapped him to a backboard and took him to the University of Cincinnati's medical center. He was paralyzed below the waist. Nobody expects to get hurt with this type of injury, Shazier says, especially when people tell you that you're not going to be able to do something simple like walk again. Ryan Shazier was never going to listen to them, and his recovery shows the importance of staying mentally active when recovering from any injury. The 30-year-old player, who is considered the prototypical NFL covering linebacker, is back on his feet. He officially retired from the NFL in September of 2020, and he has since launched the Don't Call It a Comeback podcast and published a book on his recovery, Walking Miracle, with numerous other business projects in the works. In the face of severe challenges, Shazier approached his recovery with an unwavering spirit and a determined mindset. His resilience comes from conquering previous hurdles, such as his struggle with alopecia areata, an autoimmune illness that causes hair loss. Throughout his recovery, Shazier focused on achieving incremental goals, miraculously regaining sensation in his legs within a month and walking with support only 2 months later. His extraordinary performance included dancing at his wedding less than 2 years after being injured. Shazier's past shows the power of determination and a positive attitude when faced with tragedy. And taking our number 1 spot is Reggie Brown. Reggie Brown was almost killed during an NFL game after being involved in a life-threatening situation. The Detroit Lions linebacker was left paralyzed on the field after attempting to make a tackle against the Green Bay Packers. Reggie Brown, who has started all 16 games, rushed in to tackle Jet running back Adrian Murrell on what appeared to be a routine run play. Replays show Brown wrapping his arms around a diving Murrell as the crown of his helmet collided with the back of a falling Jets player, Lamont Burns. Browns tried to stand up and join his teammates in the huddle, but he couldn't. He lost all control of his body. Nothing moved. He was paralyzed. The paralysis was terrifying, but things worsened quickly. He couldn't breathe. After nearly 15 minutes, medical personnel carried Brown onto a backboard, then a stretcher, and onto the back of an ambulance. Following an initial set of tests, including one to establish the degree of spinal cord injuries, doctors judged Brown's injuries necessitated a higher level of care and transferred him to the Henry Ford Hospital in Detroit. Over the next 2 weeks, Browns went through a difficult process of regaining movement and, more significantly, relearning the most basic activities of life, such as walking and cleaning his teeth. Just a few days after surgery, physicians put Brown through his first major test, asking him to stand and, to his surprise, take a few steps. Brown refused to give up despite his frustration. He rapidly discovered that the rehabilitation process was a combination of gains and setbacks. Brown stated that accepting life after football was made more difficult not only by the way it ended, but also how abruptly it happened. He didn't get to exit the game on his own terms. Brown said the only obvious symptom of the injury is his restricted ability to turn his head from side to side. However, it is far from the only lasting effect of that life-threatening play from 2 decades ago. With this, we have come to an end. Which one do you guys think was the scariest? Do we miss any moments that you feel that should have made this list? Let us know in the comments below. Some of the nastiest tackles have caused these scary moments often, and unsurprisingly, they do come from some of the dirtiest players. So be sure to watch this video to find out 20 of the dirtiest players in NFL history. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.